and I didn't know anything about headings prior to that, and I was literally using it to style the page. And then I learned it and re-looked at that, and I'm like, what a mess. This doesn't communicate anything that I want it to, because I was just using it for call to action to help conversion. And the reality is, as soon as I fixed it, it helped that site rank a lot better for all of the terms. And it makes a big difference. And like, you can easily make this mistake and you're like, oh, this is cool. This changes the font for me. This makes it bigger, it makes it smaller. And then you have no clue that it's actually an SEO tool and you're screwing your site up.
Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show. We are continuing our in-depth series on websites and optimization. Today we're getting into the weeds. We're going to talk about HTML hierarchy, and I was joking with the guys that I'm going to be as educated as all of you listeners today, because this is a great one. So we have 5 HTML fixes that will help your family law firm rank better and become more visible. The first one is using clear H1s that state the core topic. As per usual, we have our normal guest, the co-founder of Sterling Lawyers, Anthony Carls, as well as our head of web, Nick Perot. Nick, get us started on the H1s.
Sure. Well, before we dive into H1s, just something to lay out the way to think about this. Great pages follow a structured outline format. So I really think about this as like, what is the outline of my page and how is that represented on the page? So that structured outline communicates to search engines information about what's important on the topic of that page. So you have hierarchy. And that obviously starts with a heading 1. So H1, heading 1, it's the main heading of the page. It's like the book title.
So for a divorce page, your divorce is the H1.
Yeah, effectively. It's very clear and present in that page title. And there should only be one. So any more than one, you're confusing the user likely and the search engine. So it's hugely important to not send those mixed signals to search engines and the user. And this is a key placement for the page topic. It really helps your page end up in the right search.
Someone's searching for a divorce attorney. They don't want to see your child custody page. Let's do a divorce attorney page.
Yeah, so a good way to think about this is like for our divorce page in Wisconsin, I believe the title and the H1 have divorce in Wisconsin in the title. And then a sub page underneath that, which is underneath the divorce page, would be how to file for divorce. And then like another page under divorce would be legal grounds for divorce in Wisconsin. So like we're kind of building out the topic in a structured way. I would also add to this, one of the large mistakes that we see is, especially for self-administered WordPress instances, we see a lot of people use the headings to kind of dictate font size and boldness. We'll see pages with no H1 because they thought it was too big, or multiple H1s because they loved how it looked. Both are really bad. If you don't have an H1, you're telling Google there's no title to this chapter.
Don't worry about this page.
Yeah. And if you have you have multiple, we don't know what this page is about, and neither should you. So this is really important, because if you're building an outline, this is essentially kind of your main heading of your outline for this section of the site. So you should have one H1 for each page, not more than one, not less than one. You should have exactly one for each page on your site.
And to speak to your question earlier, Tyler, on divorce lawyer, that isn't necessarily the page title you're the heading one that you want. Maybe it's something like Milwaukee Divorce Lawyers Focused on Your Future. There's the primary keyword and location are present at the start of the title, but you can still communicate with a bit more empathy, or be more interesting than just Milwaukee divorce attorney.
Point. All right, we've talked about the H1. What the heck is the H2?
Yeah, so these are the H2s would follow in the outline the H1. So these are going to be your subtopic headings. They're like the chapters in the book. So if the H1 is the book title, we've got chapters within that book. So these are going to be the what I tend to favor would be identifying those top level questions that the client, the real clients ask about the topic at hand. So some common ones: how divorce works in Wisconsin. I want to answer that question that the client has. How long does divorce take? What does divorce cost? So these would be heading 2s to follow that heading 1. So I'd say the most common mistake we see is boilerplate, non-keyword, non-topical heading 2. So this is a really important signal that reinforces your main topic. We don't want things like services to take up that space that could be better optimized.
I know we've said this before, and it feels like website maintenance is very much it's hygiene, right? It's creating the right processes on your site so that it is easily navigable by both users and the search engines. Well, we have our H2. I gotta believe H3s are next.
Yeah, I think we go all the way to like H5, H7. I mean, they keep going. Headings nest. So this is your outline. Sometimes you need to nest additional topics under your in your chapter, basically. So we might have a subsection. That subsection might relate to if we have a heading 2 that's around child custody and parenting time, then an H3 might be legal versus physical custody. There's a direct relationship to the heading 2 topic. There might be another H3, how parenting schedules are decided, that relates back up to the H2. Within that H3, there might be an H4, might be a couple of H4s that split additional topics. We want to follow a very logical structure. Again, this is an outline. H3s and higher nest.
I'm thinking about like a bullet point list you would build in Microsoft Word, and every time you indent that topic, you're staying on topic, but you're adding context.
Yeah, there's a couple extensions that you can get for Chrome where it will just pull your headings, and then you'll be able to see what is the outline just based on your headings. What does it? If you just look at headings and don't look at anything else, what is your page about? And if like your heading outline doesn't make sense as it's like constructed by that Chrome extension, that should be an indication to you that your page is communicating really poorly to anything that's crawling it, whether that's Google search or it's the LLMs for generative search. So it's again, this is definitely hygiene, and like if you're not doing it well, you're communicating poorly. And if we were to be drafting a legal agreement, we wouldn't be just randomly putting things in a contract. We would be doing it in a structured order that made sense, that we could just look at the section headers without looking at any of the contract language and be like, okay, we've covered most of the main topics. Now let's dig into exactly what we say for all of those topics. So this is very important, and if it can be ignored because it's boring work, it's not exciting, there's nothing sexy about it. Honestly, most of SEO, if it's done well, it's boring, it's not sexy, and it works.
Well said. Tony, I know you've talked about this before, using your headings to make text big and bold.
Yes, this is the web designer, web developer move most often. Not following SEO best practices, but just really following the font, chasing the font, making the font the star of the show, and not thinking in terms of the structure and the hierarchy. H1s are big and flashy. So if you could throw those around, I need big text. Let's use this. Oh, I like the way the red one looks. So select the red one. And if you're not disciplined about that choice of structure throughout your site, you can end up with a real mess.
So don't have your graphic designer do this?
I can speak from experience on that in terms of the first site I built. It was a painting site for my brother, and I didn't know anything about headings prior to that. And I was literally using it to style the page. And then I learned it and re-looked at that, and I'm like, what a mess. This doesn't communicate anything that I want it to, because I was just using it for call to action to help conversion. And the reality is, as soon as I fixed it, it helped, Milwaukee-painters.com, which is what the site was. It's closed now, but it helped that site rank a lot better for all of the terms in Milwaukee for the painting business that we were running. So it makes a big difference. And like, you can easily make this mistake if you're kind of self-administering a WordPress site. That's what I was doing. So WordPress sites are fairly simple and easy to build, and you get this little selector on the right-hand side. And you're like, oh, this is cool. This changes the font for me. This makes it bigger, makes it smaller. And then you have no clue that it's actually an SEO tool, and you're screwing your site up.
Leave it to the experts. That's what I hear you say. Don't mess around and find out. Okay, final item is standardize HTML hierarchy across templates.
Yeah. So, you're speaking to sort of the hygiene of the site and all that. It really starts with putting some rules in place from the start. Now, some of those rules we use, especially on modern websites, it's templates. I mean, templatize. We want to templatize page types so that there's some consistency across pages. I don't want to redesign every page like it's novel and unique. I want consistency across my brand across those pages. I want predictability for the searcher. So what I want to do is think about, okay, well, my practice pages are going to follow a format naturally that supports an H1 that has maybe the service plus city plus tagline. H2s that have how it works, how much does it cost, supporting topic, subtopic, why choose law firm. And I want to follow that structure across that practice template page, the location page, really any page that you're going to reuse across the site. It's a great opportunity to sort of set that structure. Attorney pages are great for this, and that basically gives you a content template then that just about writes itself. And you can always deviate if you need to build out additional content for that page, but you start from a place that is inherently good to go, off the shelf.
What I'm hearing is, if you're going to go to the gym for the first time, bring a trainer. If you're going to build a website for the first time, don't do it yourself. There's a lot of complexities here that need to be taken into account as you're building your firm for the long term. Great stuff, gents. Really appreciate your time. Excited for the next one.